You're listening to the Platte River Bard.
Hello, and welcome to the Platte River Bard. This is Chris Berger.
And I'm Sheri Berger.
And we are here today with Dr. Patricia Newman. She is a clinical child psychologist. She is also the founder and executive director of Respect Omaha. Thank you very much for joining us virtually here today. She's on the computer. We're talking online. Thank you so much for talking with us this afternoon.
So happy to see you.
It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for doing this. This is something that has been on my list.
Yes.
Well, we've been doing this podcast now for 5 years.
Oh my God, has it been 5 years?
You have been on my list, and I'm sorry it's taken me so long. But there was this thing called a pandemic, and it really messed everything up.
It did. Oh, yeah.
It's true. It's true.
It did. So I am just really excited about all the things that you offer, especially to schools.
Yes.
You've been around now for 24 years. You were founded in 2000.
Yes.
Yeah, on the cusp of 25, yes.
Oh, wow.
And how did you decide to do this? What was the sand in the oyster, so to speak, to make the pearl?
Well, it's really fun because it shows the power, I think, of grassroots organizations. I was part of a volunteer organization, and they had $1,000 and a mandate from their national organization to do something on dating violence prevention. Well, actually, it was domestic violence prevention. And they asked me, being the child person, the child psychologist in the organization, if I could please do something with mental health. And I said, okay, but can we have it be prevention and working with teens? Because that's what I do.
Right.
And they said, sure. I mean, you've been in one of those situations where they just need someone to chair this committee really bad. So they're going to be really flexible with you, right? And so then it happened that I discovered that on the East Coast, there was a play on dating violence that they were doing. And I thought, well, maybe we could bring them here and we could do it like, in a big audience for some high school kids or whatever. And we could pair it with a panel discussion where people could ask about ask questions and stuff and have mental health resources there. And then maybe do some role play and different kinds of exercises afterwards. So we could maybe take bits and pieces of the scene and have kids work it out on stage to share what they would do to help if they were a bystander or if they were being targeted or whatever. And so I got together all kinds of organizations in the community, including some lovely funders who helped. We ended up raising $4,000 and providing programs for thousands of kids, like in 10 or 12 shows in a week. And it was just such a success. I mean, the power of using theater to educate kids and to help get them comfortable and feel like they're not alone and have conversations. And so when we got together to evaluate how did we do, no one wanted to stop. Now, no one really stepped up to be in charge. So it was me. I had done it before, right?
Yeah.
And it just grew. We realized we could write our own plays. We have fabulous acting talent and writers in the Omaha area. Yes. And so we started, and we have, Omaha is a very philanthropic community. We certainly couldn't have done it without the support of donors and other for-profit organizations who helped us. But now we're at a point where I think we've done 5,000 to 6,000 programs for like 600,000 kids in 25 years.
Wow.
So
600,000.
It's a lot, and we, it's just great. We're a small but mighty, not for profit. I say to everybody, like, Omaha has this huge, beautiful tiara full of huge gems and jewels of not for profits. And we're a little teeny beautiful sparkle by the earpiece, but we're needed, and we're beautiful, and we're really like small but mighty.
Yeah.
So that's how we started. It was, people who got together for the idea, and then they didn't want to stop, because what we really do see is, I thought, like, as a child psychologist, we use all the time in therapy, small group, individual therapy, we use role play. We practice, we rehearse, we predict, we work on impulse control. And we need to teach kids what to do about how they feel when they have big feelings, and how they can recognize and honor their feelings and boundaries while still recognizing and honoring those of others can be a big challenge, right? And so it really helps to see things on stage, to learn information from what you're seeing on stage, and kind of helps with development of empathy, and then to let them ask questions, and then they really learn from what the audience response is. Like someone will raise their hand and share a question or what happened to them, and then it's like, oh, well, that happened to me too.
Yeah.
And I tried this, and how did that work? Well, it didn't work that time, but it did work another time, and you get this great discussion going about how to solve these problems. Like, did the teacher help you if you asked? Or I couldn't ask my mom, but I asked my aunt, or all those. The discussion is just great, right? Because there's no magical answer to how to handle these situations. It'll be different depending on your skill set and the kind of person you are and how you interact with somebody, and based on the situation that you're in. And sometimes it'll be beautiful what you do, but it didn't work in that situation. And you're not a failure. You just need the encouragement to continue. So, that's what we do. We right now have 14 active plays, preschool through adult. We have a workplace program that we work with. And they focus on, for the little kids, it's like how to make a friend, how to stop and think. And then we have programs on dating violence prevention, child abuse prevention, safety and social media, depression, suicide, body image, all kinds of mental health, peer pressure things. And we love what we do. The actors are amazing. We love what we do.
So the plays, you have playwrights then that are on your staff, so to speak.
We do. We mostly have some of the plays originally, and we still use them. Many of them are very highly changed and adapted since then. A few I've written. They're short. They're 20 to 25 minutes, and they're built around almost like a lesson plan that a teacher would have. And we have a community advisory committee that advises us as to what information kids need. But we work a lot with Michelle Phillips, who is just a star in the theater community with regard to directing and writing. And she has been with us for, I think, a decade. And so she does the vast majority of our writing right now.
That's wonderful. And I think she's a professor at UNO, isn't she?
Yes.
That's right. Yeah,
that's
for sure.
Great.
Yeah.
So when you do this, I know that the school has to raise money to make the contract with you to have you come in, and you will even do it outside of Omaha, not terribly far, but you'll do it in the outskirts. So what do you normally see when you go to these schools? How is the feedback happening with these kids? Do you have a lot of kids coming up afterwards and saying, I needed this help, or I need more help, or how does that work?
Well, let's see. You talked about scheduling and fundraising, and we're really fortunate that we have many foundations that have provided money for us to give scholarships when we go places.
Oh, that's great.
Like Iowa West funds Council Bluffs, and Sherwood does OPS, and Sisters of Mercy do Catholic schools, and Kim Foundation does everywhere. And so we have a pay-as-you-can rate. So our whole charge it's like about $500 to take the 3 actors out there for the day with the materials, or for the hour or two with the materials. But if you can't, we've never had to turn anyone away. So even if someone calls and says, we'd like you guys here for a week, we will help them track down funding because we write grants.
Right.
I mean, that's really the last thing a lot of teachers and counselors have time to do is figure out how to write a grant and take the time to do it. So that's part of it. But often like a PTA or a community club will raise money too. So, and when we get there, the kids love it. And I was a teacher and a special education teacher. I love schools. We mostly do things at schools, but we do faith-based entities and camps and colleges, and we go everywhere. But mostly we're in elementary and middle schools. And the kids, first of all, it's a special event, right? You get out of school. You get out of your class, and you're going. It's already a big deal because this has to be special if you're pulled out for that.
For sure.
And a lot of them are, like a gymnasium program for 1st to 3rd graders. And we've never had a difficult group. They're all just delightful, and they are just mesmerized by watching a play. And we're not heavy on props. We have some big respect banners, and we have hats and vests and things like that. But as you guys know, being in the field,
sure.
It's really the story you're telling. right?
Yes.
It's the acting and the voice and the behaviors and all the things that they're seeing acting out on stage. And they love it. And they love to get up on stage and share their experience. And I would say it like this, and I would do this. Now, we always ask them to tell us what they're going to do first, when they're going to act out something that's just safe.
Right.
But,
Sure.
they're fun. So, and we have lots of materials. We have a community resource guide, and for every play that we do, there's all kinds of online resources. We work with Julia Cook, who writes all those books on big emotions for kids.
Yeah.
She's given us, we have this great agreement with us. We have her books online, and we have the actors reading them. So
cool.
and we have to, she's so prolific. She just writes, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to stay on top of it. But we did that especially during COVID, so that when the teachers were really needing things for kids online, that then they could watch one of our actors reading a story about something we just presented in a play.
Yeah.
So we try to have, and we have a take-home newsletter for parents. So we try to have lots of materials that prepare them before we come and that follow up after we're there. And we also do pre and post evaluations. And you don't have to do, every single program we have has its own pre-post evaluation. If you don't have time to do both, you can just do the one. And so we get feedback from the teachers and the people who schedule and all the kids. And the data is just really good.
Yeah.
I think it's because of the power of theater, right?
Yes.
You have their attention.
Absolutely.
You're keeping their attention.
Yeah.
They're subjects that are close to their hearts. Kids are smart. If you tell them it's okay to ask again if someone didn't help you the first time, they need that information.
Yeah.
So you don't need that repeated like a million times. You just do need to be exposed to it.
Yeah. Has this made you want to be in any production other than maybe helping out with this? Have you been in any other plays since this has happened, or I know that's kind of an
say
odd
that again.
question.
I can't hear you.
Oh, has this made you want to go and be in a production at any of the theaters?
No. No. I don't like to talk in front of people.
Oh, you're
like,
doing a great job.
In middle school, I wrote a play. It was hysterical. It was for the talent show. I was in Monroe Junior High in Mason City, Iowa.
Oh.
The home of the Music Man.
Yes, we've been there to the museum. Yes.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, yes. Okay, so that's where I go. And I wrote a play. It always had to be social issues, right? It was women's lib, then, now, and in the future or something. And it was all about how women were treated. It was like a 5-minute thing for the talent show.
I love it.
And I was Penelope in Desperate Desmond's Dastardly Deed. A melodrama in middle school. That's it. Okay, that's it.
That's awesome.
And that's okay. That's enough. I have no envy for what the actors do.
Oh, it's hard. It's a hard job, but it sounds like you enjoy theater and
Yes.
and
I love watching
and you get
them.
To,
Sure.
and you get to mix
and I
it
love
with what you
our
do.
actors are often in, like right now, Connor Holt is in Jersey Boys. And so we get to go see them when they're doing things. And we love that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, but I would never want to do it. You guys can just enjoy that all you want.
Well, I just had to ask. Now, I had looked up some studies on bullying and found that 49% of students in grades 4 through 12 say that they have been bullied. 31% of adults have been bullied. And 43% said the behavior that they experienced had become accepted. And so I'm just, I'm thinking that this is just, and I can't imagine that the pandemic really made anything better since everything went online, and that's where everyone really seems to bully each other as well in email and social media. What have you found that's different and that has really kind of changed in the last 5 years as far as bullying goes?
Last 5 years. Well, maybe a little more than 5 years. First of all, I think that your numbers are probably right in the same range that everybody has who's collecting it. Yeah. Especially if you understand that even if you're exposed to bullying that's happening to someone else, that impacts you, right?
For sure.
I mean, you can feel really helpless or threatened just by being in the vicinity. Right. So it has an impact on the environment, anyone who's surrounding you. The things that we've seen, well, the biggest thing has been social media.
Yeah.
Because you can do all of that kind of bullying really and be is mean and harmful on social media.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you can leave people out. You can make sure your friend sees that you and everybody else but them went to this dinner or pizza place or whatever, and you're having a great time in their home alone. I mean, you can just really hurt people, even by just leaving them out. Or certainly we've seen the bullying that happens with threatening, you know, a lot of harmful, threatening, aggressive kinds of things, and name calling. I mean, so social media, whether it be posting nasty pictures or saying mean things, has been one more way to be mean people, right?
Yeah.
And so almost every place we go, we tell kids, if you ever hear or see anyone saying that they're going to hurt themselves or someone else, even if it's on social media, because sometimes kids will go, well, I figured someone else did something.
Yeah.
You know, so it's easy to think someone else took care of it.
Sure.
It's on social media. We say no. You know, you can't get too many warnings to the adults who can help. So you have to report it. You just have to, when you see it, you just have to tell someone, because there are a lot of threats to hurt self and others, right?
Yes.
On media. So that's a big way. The other thing is that people have come to use, I think, what we know has always been the case: identity-based bullying, harassment, discrimination, diverse people, regardless of your diversity, they've really, I think, become more open about using that to be harmful to groups of people.
Right.
And it is rare that we have too many overt problems with that. But now and then we'll get someone to say, well, I don't have to be respectful to X group of people because my parents, my clergy, whatever, say they're bad, they're going to hell. They're, you know, if someone's wrong and they're doing something bad by who they are, then they don't deserve respect. And so we don't have to be nice and kind to them. And I always say, you know, but the deal with respect is that our thing is that you can be who you are. You can think all that you want to think without hurting other people.
Right.
Yep.
So if you walk into a cafeteria and you think there's this person here eating an odd meal because they come from a different part of the world than you do, and you want to walk over there and maybe you're going to say nasty things about who they are and where they're from, you can, as a person, you can believe that and think that, but you can also walk over there somewhere else and sit and not say anything.
Right.
You know, so it's like we start teaching kids stop and think, right? Impulse control before think all the people that you can hurt. You know, by whatever you say or do. And it's really, and the bystanders too. I mean, the people, there are ways to act versus not in helpful versus less helpful ways.
Right, right. When someone wants to report to someone that a bullying situation is happening, what happens? How do you guys recommend that people react if they're not believed? If they say you're being oversensitive, or you took it wrong, or you didn't quite understand the situation, so there's that gaslighting that's happening.
Right.
You know, I'm sure that you address it, but how would you recommend that the person proceed?
And we get kids who say, for example, I told X, but they didn't help. So we talk a little bit about the fact that sometimes they might not know that something's happening because, like, schools can't tell everything they're doing because of privacy.
Right.
So we talk a little bit about that. Right. We talk about how don't give up.
Right.
You know, adults get busy. Mom gets busy. Dad gets busy. Go to your aunt. You know, go to your teacher. Go to your Sunday school teacher. So don't give up. We talk to adults about the fact that if a youngster comes to you, and even if it's your own child, and they say that they feel like they're being bullied, and even you as a parent might think, oh man, you know, maybe they're like, I'm watching this and maybe my kid contributes a bit to it. So maybe it's not quite what they say, but it's still how the kid feels.
Right.
Yeah. So it's still their feelings about it, even if you don't agree necessarily with the interpretation of events. If a child cares enough to come to you to say that something's wrong, something's wrong.
Right.
Yeah, okay? That's a big step. Yeah.
And be blessed that they trust you to come talk to you, because that doesn't always happen.
No.
And understand that if they say they're afraid or mad, they are afraid or mad. And they may be, it may not make sense to you exactly what they're, you know, afraid or mad about, but there's something there.
Yeah.
Which we also define, you know, what happened when bullying became such a big deal is that anything anybody did that was even an accident or mean or whatever became bullying. And bullying specifically is done on purpose. It's not an accident. It's not like getting bumped to your desk.
Right.
It happens repeatedly, and it's done with intent and purpose. So a one-time act, it still may be something that shouldn't happen. It has to be addressed, but it's not the same thing as bullying.
Right.
Because bullying means it has something to do with power and control. And it may be that I have more money, that I got a better grade, that I'm not in, that I, it depends on your environment, what the power is.
Yeah.
It means different things in different places.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. And I've read before that children who are bullied in childhood end up, having really bad struggles in the future with their mental health. It triples the risk of them having mental health issues in the future. And I just don't think we take it seriously.
Being bullied is one of the stressors. I always tell people it's not cause and effect. Just because you experience this doesn't mean this is going to happen, right? Because you have power inside. There are power of peers and parents and people who care about you.
Yes.
What you choose to do in a situation, the options that you have can make a difference. But there is a correlation. There certainly is. If you were in a being bullied is one of those stressors of childhood. And if you have a lot of other stressors going on too, depends on how many things, are you also in a situation where you've lost a parent or poverty or, multiple moves and maybe the more of those you have, the harder it is to overcome. Right. And so certainly the kids who experience bullying, but there are likewise, there are research studies about, as I mentioned before, the bystanders, their impact. I talked to a child once who how depressed and lonely and inadequate they felt because they saw bullying happen and they didn't know what to do about it. And they were far to the side. No one would even have thought. But they felt they were letting people down. They were letting themselves down. They felt helpless.
Yeah.
So it depends on individual differences too.
Yeah, it does.
And our youngsters who are doing that bullying behavior, we never like to call them bullying. We always say the person doing the bullying because we don't like to label a person by their behavior. We don't. But it's a behavior, and there's almost always a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, people they're not born. We always say they're not born with those behaviors. But usually it's what they've experienced in some way, right? They learned it somewhere. And I don't could it be TV? I don't know. Could it be a video game? I don't know. Could it be at home or school or where you're at in peers? And again, when we were talking earlier before we started, if you don't get to kids at a younger age and say, it's not okay to use power and control that way. It's okay to want power. It's okay to want control, but you have to use it in a way that doesn't hurt other people.
Yes.
And now let's find some ways that you can do that. Yeah. So it's not enough to just say, no, you can't do that. You have to give kids some options, right? You can't just take away something without replacing it with something better.
Yes.
Yep, absolutely. So this is just such a wonderful program. So the school, they can ask for specific types of things that they want to be addressed. The play.
Oh, sure.
They get to kind of choose that.
And tailor it to their needs, yeah.
What about someone who's in performing arts that would like to be part of your program?
Yeah.
We have auditions every year.
Oh, okay.
And what I love about our program is we were one of the first to pay in the Omaha area. At the time when we started, most people were volunteer actor educators, community theater. And we knew right away that didn't make any sense because actors have to eat too, right?
Yeah, we do.
They have to pay their mortgage and buy gas and all that stuff. And so we had a whole lot of people that we paid by the gig, which is what people were doing at that time. And now we've turned the program into where we are able to, we've grown to the point where we can have 3 actors, about 29 hours a week for a set number of weeks per year with a few bit of benefits so that they can then use their time. If they lots of people need another part-time job, but the hours are steady. The pay is steady.
Oh, wow.
And we've had a great response to that. We also try to, they get lots of learning experiences. I mean, the Kin Foundation comes in and talks to them. They might do a project at Boys and Girls Club. Project Harmony comes in and talks to them. They learn a lot about mental health and services and how the not-for-profit world and education works. So I like to think that when they're with us, for the time that they're with us, we're also helping them build their resume, and the education that they have about the world that we work in. So, we always advertise when we have positions that we need on the Not-for-Profit Association of the Midlands job line.
Sure.
And, anytime anybody ever wants to come and see something, they just have to call us or email us. We're always glad to have people see our shows. When we're at a school, we have to let people know that they're coming, right? Just for security issues. And we have a community advisory committee that is just composed of, I can't say just because they're highly valuable, but it's simple to be part of it. Several times a year we meet and we share one of our programs, and we have people network and tell us what they're doing, and you can participate that way.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Lots of great opportunities.
Yeah, for sure.
To help kids and also be part of the process.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, I just really think that all the things that you are doing is so helpful. I mean, especially in my reading, I've even seen that it just really affects people all into life. And I think we're already having some mental health issues happening right now. And I think it's just this big thing that festers. And it's a good idea to be able to get ahead of it and offer these school-based programs to help people really deal with it.
Yeah. I think the online thing is really important too, because I was reading just briefly, because now we've lived with the internet and social media now for almost like 20 years. Like we have a generation's basically worth of dealing with this, and sort of the reports are sort of coming in from the psychologists and the mental health folks, is that it ain't really good for us. Social media isn't all that it was supposed to be, and so it's almost like you can't, because we're so plugged in all the time, it's almost like you can't now get away from it. It's like even if you're out of school or if you're working at home and now you're not dealing with the workplace all the time, it's coming through your electronic devices
can't
now.
Get away from
and
it.
it's like you can't, and
they can't.
It
get
seems
away
like
from
it's
it.
more important now than ever, because it's like there's 24/7 opportunity for something bad to happen. Yeah.
Right. I know, at least if, in our day, if a child was bullied, they didn't want to go to school the next day, right? But this way, you just can't get away from it.
Yeah,
but you can't get away from it either.
And there is that addictive component of, kids who I've seen in my practice where parents just struggle to get their kids to not go to bed with their phones. Literally, the phones sleep on their pillow.
Yeah.
And it's just not good for your physical health or your mental health. And I'm not saying you get rid of them completely, because I think, number one, they're here to stay. But there's a lot of benefit that we get, like we're having this conversation.
Absolutely.
And it's great. But kids don't always have that ability to make those judgments.
Yes.
Right. And say, okay, I'm just turning it off for a day. And if they're on that all the time, think of all the stuff they're missing.
Right.
I
mean, there's all these other things that they're not getting to do because they're glued to the screens that they're connected to. So I think we're on the
Now more
I
than
think
ever.
some media has adapted to that, right? Like to have report buttons if bullying is happening, or to have some consequences for people. But it's just such a huge problem.
It is.
Right? It's such a huge source of work that we're all communicating on, that I think we'll continue to struggle with it for a while.
Right. I just, Chris is as well. We're from the era where your folks told you to go outside, and when you saw the light, the street lights go on, you're supposed to be home.
Come on, when the street lights come on, that's right.
I don't know if that happens so much anymore.
Not around here.
Oh, and is it safe to? 'Cause, I mean, so.
But the good news is there's lots of help. We know a lot about mental health. We know that it's physical health, right? And people who have doctors who help them with physical conditions like diabetes or blood pressure or whatever, that's just parallel to people who might be needing, an APRN or a psychiatrist or a counselor or someone to help them with their mental health.
Right.
And I always say, people go to the dentist when they don't have a problem. It's a checkup to make sure their teeth are okay. I think our mental health should be that way too, right? And so I raised my kids that way. Of course, I'm biased because that's a field I'm in. But then when we did have bigger issues, we already had somebody kind of in our pocket that we could just call and say, "Oh, can we come talk to you about this?" Because and not everything's easy, right?
Right.
And I think social media sometimes and all of our electronic communication makes it that things are so, I just had to order something on Amazon and it was here today, right? So we just get used to things happening immediately. But that's not what relationships progress. People don't grow like that.
No.
Exactly.
Right?
No.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Wow.
it's a lot to sort.
It is. It is a lot to sort. And I think it's such a great program, and it's going to help people into their adulthood. And what a great thing to be able to mix theater with.
I think it's a great way to get people the information and skills they need. You are welcome anytime to come. And we would just be glad to have you.
Oh, wonderful.
So just let me know. And
we would love that.
Talk to you again.
Yes, we would love that. And
Yes.
we love being able to tell everyone about all the great work that you are doing. And I know you don't work alone. You've got lots of staff and board.
Oh,
that help you,
heavens
but-
no. It's totally a massive team effort. Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you both. It's nice to meet you.
Oh, so nice to
Very
meet
nice to
you.
meet you.
Thank you so much for talking to us.
Yes, indeed.
You bet. If you ever need anything, give me a call.
I will. Thank you so much.
Thank you to Patricia Newman and Respect for talking with us. For more information, see their website at www.respecttoall.org. That's respect, 2, all.org.
Thank you for listening and supporting the arts in the Platte River area and beyond. Please subscribe to our podcast so you are sure to catch all of our future episodes and join us on social media. See you next time on the Platte River Bard.